Hey guys, it's time for the GridIron tournament. This is going to be the pro edition, so let's get started. Gonna go through my bags real quick. I've got the extra mile in bag number 1. I upgraded it to level 7. And then in bag number 2, I brought the big dog in case we have some longer par 5s. I don't really remember if we're going to need it or not. We might need it for hole number 5. And then bag number 3, I've got the rock here. You could either use the rock or the quarterback. Both these clubs, as you can see, they have 100 accuracy. The rock gives you a little bit more distance, but I like the 4.4 ball guide. You don't get 4.4 until level 10 for the quarterback. So my quarterback is level 9. So I will be using the rock instead, but you can use either. And then as usual, for pro tournaments, I will not be using any Tour 7 clubs. So let's get started. For hole number 1, I'm going to start with a navigator. I'm going to play pretty safe on hole number 1 with the rock here. So let's get started. This is a good chance for an albatross with your sniper club, so make sure you bring your sniper. I'm going to add about 10% to our drive, and we're just going to play safe, lay up short on the beginning of the dog leg, and then use our sniper to get on the green. So we get to go first. Okay, so looks like about a 5 or 10% elevation. You see here the navigator really is more than what we need. We don't need more than power 1, so I'm going to use about 1 bar of topspin. That looks pretty good to me. 5.8 with a 10% adjustment. We're looking at 5.4 rings. So I'm going to go about 5.5 there. Not going to use any curl because the wind is helping us. Okay. Okay, that looks good. So I don't really see a lot of value in trying to go full blast with the power hook. The wind's not very strong. It is in a good direction, but I don't really think we'll be able to get too much closer. And I think sniper is really good for this approach. Good chance at the albatross. So our opponent here with an extra mile level 5, we don't need the distance that the extra mile has, so we want to use a more accurate club like the rock or the quarterback, because once again we don't need to go full blast down the fairway. Where we're sitting right now is good. Opponent puts it in the rough, so no chance reaching the green from there. So that's what you want to avoid. So we've got our sniper here. We'll drag it up. So that's our maximum distance right there. And then way back here, that's our minimum distance. So we're going to be around here in the middle. So we'll be using middle numbers. So I like my second bounce to be before the fringe. So I'm going to use about 1 bar of backspin. And then I'm going to leave it somewhere around there. I think is going to be good. Yeah. So 5.7 with medium numbers gives us 5 rings even. So we'll go 5 rings. We hit it perfect. Okay, so coming in a little bit hot, but it's still okay. So maybe just a tiny bit more backspin to slow that ball's approach down a little bit. Good chance for an albatross, but we will definitely take the easy eagle. So here our opponent's trying to get out of trouble, trying to get back on the fairway. Does a pretty good job. Still a tough shot for an eagle though. So I'm going to put it in here. I'll take the eagle. See if we can keep track of our scores this way. So our opponent misses, so he'll have to take a birdie. And then we will move on to hole number 2. Depending on the wind, hole number 2 has a lot of options. If we get tailwind though, we'll most likely be playing to the left, trying to get directly on the green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the Thor's hammer here, just in case I feel like we need it. But we'll have the extra mile, Thor's hammer, and the rock. So I'm going to start with the rock, and if we need more distance, then I'll probably go up to the Thor's hammer. I'll start with the Titan ball here. This is definitely one that we want to eagle, so be prepared to spend a more expensive ball here to try to get the eagle. So let's jump into hole number 2, see what kind of wind we get. And if we get like headwind or crosswinds, we can either try to lay the ball up on that fairway to the left, or we can just play right and then have a short iron for the pin. Okay, oh, so we do get tailwind. So 6.8, I'm going to add 20%. The rock may not be enough. Yeah, because I don't want to have to max overpower. I'm going to try the Thor's hammer. And actually, no, I'm going to go with the extra mile, because I have that in my calculator. So I'm going to go with maximum side spin to the right and about, I'm going to go just under 3 bars, I think will be good. That should be good. So it's going to give us 4 rings. I'm going to go with as much curl as we have here. Whoops, I hit great. I think it's going to be okay. Okay, whoa. So coming in hot, couldn't really see what was going on. Might want to use a little more than 3 bars of backspin then. Let's see what our opponent does. He has similar wind to us. He's going with maximum backspin. So using a similar approach that we are. He hits great as well. Okay, so you see he gets very fortunate, almost going into the bunker there. So somewhere between 3.5 bars of backspin will be good. We'll see if we can chip this in. Okay. Going to use medium numbers here. It's only going to tell us to move about 2 rings. So I'm going to move 2 rings into the wind and still touching the cup. So I think this is going to be okay. We just need to hit perfect. Okay. Okay, so dropping in nicely there. We definitely want to eagle this because it's not that hard to eagle. We didn't need to overpower, so we just need to plan our shot a little better. But be mindful to add 20% to your drive because that tailwind is going to carry that ball a little further than you might think. So allow some room for error there. Between 3 and 3.5 bars of backspin is good. We used just under 3. Ended up just a little bit long, but I would rather end up just a little bit long than end up in the bunker because that reduces our chances of getting an eagle significantly. So our opponent or our teammate, however you want to look at it, he's going in for a chip in here. Looks good. Okay, so he gets the eagle as well. And as usual, I won't be qualifying today, so I will be forfeiting any birdies that we get. So I'm going to forfeit this shootout. And we'll move on to hole number 3, which I don't remember what hole number 3 was, but we will figure it out together. So let's see here. Okay, it's the par 3. So we want to use the rock here for sure, or the quarterback. And then I'm going to use a navigator. I want to cut that wind down, and I don't really see a need for a lot of side spin. And we'll add 10% to this shot. And it's been a while since I've played Juniper Point courses, but I do believe we'll be in minimum distance of our driver. So we get to go first. So we've got some crosswind. So you see this is minimum distance here. But you see we've got that nice ball guide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch my clear rings. You see how the clear ring is cutting the bunker on the left and right side? And I'm going to use as much side spin to the right as we have and like half a bar of backspin. Don't want to use a lot of backspin because we have a little bit of headwind here. 5.2 rings. Somewhere around there. Okay, so we could have done without that backspin, but we have a nice approach, a little bit short. So take off the backspin, 2 bars of side spin to the right. That clear ring cutting the bunker on the left and the right side, I think is a good landing position. And then add 10% to your drive and use minimum numbers. And make sure if you're using a wind calculator or the Golf Clash Notebook IO wind calculator that you set your power to 1. It's very important to remember to use the right power setting. So our opponent using a Titan ball, just not necessary. It's kind of overkill if you ask me. But he's getting up nicely, might be coming in too hot into the sand. So we don't want to do that. So I'm going to put it in. Actually, excuse me, I'm going to forfeit here. Give our opponent a birdie. And then we will move on to hole number 4. Okay, so this is going to be a pretty tough one. If we get tailwind, then you really have no other choice but then to go for the green by playing on the left side. Any other wind, you can play right and go for maybe a rough bump onto the green for your second shot. So I'm going to bring the extra mile, and I'm going to bring a Titan ball. Well, no, I'm going to bring a navigator. And if we get tailwind, we'll see what happens. Okay, we do get tailwind, so we do need to play the left side, and we do need to use a Titan ball. Our opponent's going to play right side. We are going to have to overpower, and the landing spot is kind of small. So these are some things to keep in mind. If you don't feel comfortable with that, then play on the right and just try to get on the green in 2 and take the birdie. But we really want to go for the eagle here. Anytime you have the opportunity to reach the green in 1, you want to try and take it. Because even if we end up in a bunker, we can still get on the green and still end up with a safe birdie. So our opponent's in the rough here, on the wrong side of the fairway, so he's got a long shot to get to the green. So I'm going to change to a Titan ball here. 5.4 wind. You can see it's a little downhill and the fairway is kind of sloping to the left. So I'm going to add maximum top and maximum right. And I'm going to add 10% to my drive, which is 3 rings in this wind. I'm going to take off some right spin. I'm going to do 3. Okay. So I'm going to max overpower here and take a little bit off. We hit perfect. We get 1 bounce, and we end up in the sand, but we're right next to the green, so if we miss our chip, then we'll be on the green putt for a birdie. So definitely bring a Malibu here for if you do end up in the sand. Okay, so he gets on the green. Easy putt for a birdie. We'll see if we can knock one in for an eagle. Okay. So I'm going to put it here. I'm going to add some top spin. Not too much. So I just want to barely roll into that pin. Our minimum numbers is 1.4 rings, and I'm going to halve that, so I'm going to use like 0.7 rings. Okay. Oh, we hit great, so that's not going in. But we'll take the birdie, but we really want to try to get an eagle here. I'm probably going to load the replay for my drive, and because I couldn't really see what was going on, see what kind of changes we need to make to that drive. So we will forfeit here. And then let's look at that replay real quick, because I want to see if I can make some critiques to my shot. So you see here, I hit the take shot button, and what that does is it resets the replay counter. So now we can watch the whole replay. That's a good thing to keep in mind especially when you're playing tournaments and you want to watch your replays back, hit that take shot button first, and then when you hit it again, it starts the replay timer there. So we can see all of our adjustments. Because I think I came in a little bit too much to the right. Yeah, so we came in too much to the right, so I don't think that curl was necessary. If we had hit that fairway, that would probably have been on the green, I feel. So I don't think we need any curl because the wind is pushing us to the right. So I would take that curl away. 3 bars of right spin, maximum top spin. You don't need to max overpower, but you do need a little bit of overpower. So let's go to hole number 5. Hole number 5, I'm probably going to play safe with the rock, and I'm going to bring the Guardian because I want some backspin for my second shot. And you see the Guardian versus the Sniper, we have a few more yards. I'm really close to level 7, I just need 3 more cards to get some extra accuracy. And then I'm going to bring the rock here as well, just in case we get a wind that requires the big dog, but I feel like we're going to get tailwind. We usually do for the par 5. So I'm going to start with this loadout here. And I'm going to bring a Titan ball because we definitely need the distance for our second shot. So once again, you can replace the rock with the quarterback. They're very similar clubs. Okay, so we do get some tailwind. It's going to be straight tailwind for our second shot. So I'm going to do... This is my landing zone here. This is where I want to land. I'm just trying to see if I need more topspin. I'm going to go with 2 bars of topspin. I'm going to add 10% to my drive. So we're looking at 6.8 rings. So we got 5 rings here, 6.8. I'm going to add full left curl. And hit it perfect. So this should be okay. Land good. Rolling in nicely. Right up to the edge of the fairway. So I'm happy with that drive. That's a good drive. We've got straight tailwind now for our second shot. So the goal is just to get on the green because this is almost impossible to get an albatross. This is a very, very tough hole to get an albatross on. So we don't want to overextend ourselves trying too hard and then end up in the sand or the rough because there's a lot of hazards around that green. So our opponent hits a tree. Fortunately, he rolls out into the fairway, but he's using the wrong kind of ball here. We don't need to lower the wind with the Santa ball. Okay, so the Guardian is good. I like this. I like this. So let's see here. It looks like to be a little bit uphill, but I'm not going to take anything off, so I feel like that's okay. I don't see any hazards in our way. So 4.7 because we're max distance. We hit it perfect. Okay, so you see there, we got too close. Yeah, we should not have done that. So that's what I mean by trying to push it too hard. Now we're in the bunker. So play more to the right so that you don't end up in the bunker like I did. There's no reason to go for the pin. It's too tough of a shot. So don't do what I did. But the Guardian is a good club to bring. I think I used between 3 and 4 bars of backspin. So honestly, you could even bring the Sniper, but in case your drive is a little short and you want those extra couple yards, I don't recommend the big dog here because we do need as much accuracy as we can get because there's a lot of hazards in the way. So I'm going to try to get the Eagle here. This is almost impossible to get because it's such a weird green. We have such a steep slope here. The ball just, it's like a line drive. So it's going to hit that fairway going about 100 miles an hour. Yeah, there's just no chance for this, but we'll try it. Yeah, look at that. That's terrible. Okay. So stay out of that bunker. That is not a good place to be. So stay right on your second shot. Don't try to go for the pin, because if you get greedy, then that's what's going to happen. So we're going to forfeit here since we did not get the Eagle, unfortunately. We'll give our opponent the Eagle. And then we'll move on to hole number 6. Okay, so I like the Sniper for this, and either a Navigator or a Quasar. I'm going to try a Quasar. So I always play this shootout hole the same way regardless of the wind. You'll probably see a lot of different ways to play this. I will show you the way that I play it. And I think this is a good chance for a hole-in-one. We just need to dial our shots in. So as you can see, we're going pretty big downhill. So I want my clear rings on the left and right to be touching the rough. Just like right there. You see that? Yeah, right. That's our landing zone. So every time, that's where you want to set up. And I'm going to use, since we have crosswind to the left, I'm going to go max side spin to the right. And about 2.5 bars of backspin. We're a medium distance, an extra 10% is 6.8 rings, so it's almost 1-to-1. Like that. I'm going to add just a little bit of curl, because we are fighting the wind here. But look at that, pretty close. A little bit more backspin will get us on the right trajectory to get into the hole. So maybe closer to 3 bars of backspin. But I like that approach. I've seen people go down the middle. I've seen people play the right side. I'm very unfamiliar with the right side, so I never play the right side. It's a very steep incline, so I feel like you get very unreliable and inconsistent bounces. So I stick with the left side. It's just my personal preference. But take some notes on this one. Write down the spins you're using and the results, and just make minor adjustments, because I really feel like this is a good possibility for a hole-in-one. So we'll forfeit here, bail our opponent out because he ended up in the bunker. So this is, I'm not going to say this is a tough tournament, but we do need to find the right approaches for sure. You can't just go into the holes without any kind of game plan and expect to do well. We definitely need to formulate a strategy for every hole. Hole number 7, this is a tough par 4. This is very, very tough. So I'm going to bring the Thor's hammer and the rock, because we want some accuracy. I'll keep the extra mile in bag number 1 in case we get headwind, because you can still play right with headwind. You just need a kingmaker and some overpower. But I don't see that being the wind in pro division. If you play right side, you'll be using your long iron, so I don't think the wood club matters, but just in case, I'll change these to the Sniper. But we'll most likely be using the Goliath. So once again, this is a tough hole, so don't be afraid to use a more expensive ball here. I'm gonna start with the Titan ball. I really think power 3 is necessary because we don't want to overpower if we don't need to. So I'll start with the rock. If we need more distance, I'll switch to the Thor's hammer. And if we get headwind, I'll probably use the extra mile. Okay, looks good. Let's get started. For this, I never play to the left. I always play to the right, unless it's like a massive, massive headwind that you just can't reach. But any other wind, even though it looks scary, it's very, very doable. So our opponent is switching to the extra mile. So you see he has plenty of room. He doesn't need to overpower at all. The only issue is with the inaccuracy of the club. He needs to hit perfect, or else he will probably end up in the rough. So we're going to try to mitigate that by using a more accurate club, because we don't need the distance. We can make up the distance with a Titan ball. So he hits great, so let's see what happens. Yep, in the rough. So we don't want to do that. So I'm going to add 10% to my drive. I'm going to look again and see. Yeah, 10% should be good. So that's about 5 rings for the rock. So I'm going to switch to the Thor's hammer just because I want a little more distance. Just pulling up my wind calcs here. We're looking at 3.6 rings right there in the middle. And I'm going to use 1 bar of backspin, 3 bars to the right. So we hit great, but this should be okay. Okay, bouncing nicely, coming in nicely. So that 1 bar of backspin really helping us slow that ball down. And we're in a good position for the pin. And once again, don't push it too hard because you have the rough there, you have the sand there, you have the water there. There's a lot of hazards around these greens. So play safe, don't get greedy. And as I say that, I usually end up getting greedy anyway. But I'm going to try to play safe this time. So let's look what we have here. We have our Goliath. There's minimum distance right there. And there's maximum distance way up there. So we're medium distance of our club. I'm going to put the blue ring touching the rough up there. And then I'm going to use just over 1 bar of backspin and 1 bar side spin to the right. So it looks like I'm going to cut the rough, but because we have tailwind, I'm not going to. So 3.5 rings. And we don't need to use the Goliath here because, as you saw, we're in medium distance. So that was a good attempt. Good speed. A little bit to the right, so we probably didn't need that side spin. But just get this one on the green. You don't want to struggle too hard to try and take an eagle here because you can end up in a lot of trouble. So we'll let our opponent take his shot. There we go, he manages to get it in. He struggled the whole way though, and we don't want to do that. So I'm going to forfeit here, and then we'll move on to hole number 8. So hole number 8 has a very good chance for a hole-in-one. This is a very easy par 3. Doesn't matter. We're going to be using our sniper most likely. And I'm going to use a navigator to knock the wind down a little bit. We don't need really any side spin at all. So this is another par 3 where you need to take notes of your landing position, the spin you used, what the wind was, where it was pointing, because even though we get very similar winds every time, it slightly changes. So I'm going to put my clear ring on the bunker with my white ring touching the fringe. So right here is where I'm going to set up probably every time. I'm going to use 4 bars of backspin, 2 bars of right spin. Okay. And then I'm going to add 10% to my drive because we're a little bit downhill. And I'm going to use medium numbers, so 6 rings. So pretty close. We need to aim a little higher up the hill to get some more speed rolling down that hill. So we may need to move our landing position a little bit more to the right. But wherever you end up landing, you need to try to keep that consistent. So our opponent's using a long iron approach, which I don't agree with at all. The way I see it is anytime you can use your sniper, you should. But as you can see, this is a very forgiving green, so even though he used kind of a weird approach, he was still within a few yards of the hole. So this is a pretty straightforward hole. I'm going to forfeit here. And then on to hole number 9. So I think playing left side is a good option with the Titan ball, because I feel if you play right side, like I'm sure you'll see most people do, it puts you in an awkward position to get to the pin, because the pin is kind of tucked away to the right, and it's protected by that bunker, that long bunker on the right side. So if you play left and get on that island, then you have a straight shot for the pin. But it is a tricky shot, so you need to kind of dial that shot in. I'm going to start with the rock to see. Not sure if we'll have enough distance. If not, I'll switch to the Thor's hammer. But I'm definitely going to use a Titan ball here. And the goal is just to get on that fairway on the left, on that island. It's kind of a bowl shape. So as long as you can get on the fairway, it kind of guides the ball to the center of the fairway. So let's see what we got here. So 4 bars of topspin is all we have. So we want to land here. Yeah, I'm going to use the Thor's hammer. Want some little more distance. So maximum top spin, 4 bars of left spin. That looks pretty good to me. I'm going to add 10% to my drive, so that's 3.7 rings. No curl, don't need any curl here. We hit great to the left, but I think that'll be okay. So you see the bowl just kind of guiding the ball to the end of that fairway. And you see that straight shot to the pin. So I really like this approach. I think it's a really good chance for an albatross. Playing to the right, I just feel there's too many things that can go wrong. That fairway slopes left and it pushes the ball off the cliff. So you need to use a lot of curl to the right, side spin to the right to kind of fight that tendency for that ball to go out of bounds. And you kind of have a small landing zone as well because you need to overpower a little bit. If you're using a Titan ball, I don't think you'll need to overpower. But I feel like there's a lot that can go wrong in either direction, so why not pick the better option as far as your second shot is concerned. So here, barely rolling onto the fairway. He has a long way to go, but you see it's just a weird angle. That bunker and the way the fairway sloped, it cuts the access to the pin off. So here we've got a straight shot, and look at it, we've got plenty of room here. So I'm going to try to find a good landing zone. And I want to just come in right there. So I'm going to try that. 7.5, medium numbers, no elevation, 6.8 rings. Like so. No curl. We hit it perfect. So still a little bit to the left, but as you can see, a good approach nonetheless. This is very tricky, but if you watch our opponent, he has a very tough shot. So the rough is in play, the bunker is in play if he wants to get to the pin. And by going left on your drive, it takes all of that out of the equation. So you can focus more on dialing in your shot without worrying about hitting a hazard. Because if you cut that rough, it could potentially just ruin your shot. Too many obstacles in the way with this approach, I personally feel. So he's coming in pretty hot. So we'll take the eagle here. I didn't have too much time to prepare for this today. I didn't get a chance to watch any videos or anything of other people playing this tournament. So I was going into this pretty blind, but I'm pretty happy with the results. So after this is over, we'll take a look at our scorecard. We made a lot of mistakes today, and we definitely figured out some ways to improve our shots. So we're going to forfeit this and then check out our scorecard real quick. Quick recap. So we finished at 0. Not bad. So we've only got 3 eagles. Hole number 5 should have been an eagle for sure, but we got a little too greedy, ended up in the bunker. So we learned from that mistake. Hole number 4, we learned we don't need curl for that drive because we ended up a little bit too much to the right and we missed that second fairway. So if we hit that second fairway, we have a really good chance of landing on the green and getting an eagle there. So even with the mistakes that we made, 2, 4, 6, plus 6 birdies equals a minus 12. So not terrible, not great, lots of room for improvement. There's a minus 13 here in first place. He managed to get the eagle on hole 4. He missed it on hole 2. So a minus 15 is not out of the question here. So you're looking at a minus 30 to win this tournament. Potentially a little bit higher if you get some of those par 3s to drop. But thank